Society, and I am interviewing Mr. and Mrs. Wing on September 28th, 2011. So I know that it's Robert Wing and Sophie. Could you spell Sophie?
Sophie.
I-E, okay. And I think I know how to spell Wing, so we're all set on that. So the first thing I want to know is where and when each of you were born.
August 12, 1930, in the ranch house in Silver Spring, on the dairy.
On the dairy.
On the dairy.
All right.
And my mother always had a doctor come to the house, and Mrs. Flood from Lafayette helped my mother take care of me when I was born and my brother before me.
Very interesting. And how about you?
Well, actually, I was born in Oakland at the old hospital down there. I don't remember the name. I think it was Merritt.
There is a Merritt. Okay.
And then, of course, raised here in Lafayette.
And when were you born?
October 23rd, 1930.
Okay. All right, very good.
And from there on, I was in Lafayette.
Okay, I think what I want to do is start first with Mrs. Wing, because I want you to tell us about the Alta Crest Dairy, where you lived for the first 11 years of your life. I'd kind of like just a description of it, what it looked like, and what you used to do for fun, and what your memories of the dairy. Describe the dairy for us.
Okay, going into the driveway to the left, there was a large hay barn, and across from that were two barns for milking, a double barn, and to the left of the barns was a little shed where we put the milk left after we made cream in barrels and fed to the hogs. Then to the right of the milking barns were the milk preparation. It was a steamer and washer to wash the bottles and steam them to sterilize them. And to the right of that was the big refrigeration building, and where we bottled the milk. The men would milk the cows, bring the bucket of milk, go up the stairs on the outside of the building, in the front of the building, pour it into a pipe or a container, and it would go down into a cooler. It would cool, and then it would go into a tank that had a strainer on it. And from that tank, they bottled 4 bottles at a time by hand into the crates, and then the capper. Then they capped them and put them in the refrigeration. And that's how it was done. And then the men, my father or whoever worked for us, or my oldest brother, would deliver milk in the morning and at night. And we delivered milk to Lafayette, all of Happy Valley, and part of Moraga, and Glenside, and then part of Pleasant Hill, Walnut Creek, and Concord.
Wow, that's a long way.
Because there was another, there were 2 routes, and because there was another dairy in Lafayette and another dairy in Danville. And going toward the house was on the left, and going into the ranch, and the bunkhouse is on the right, and behind the bunkhouses farther was another very large hay barn, and the dry pasture for the cows was on the right, and on the left was the hay and a big strip where my dad would pitch the hay, the dry hay, and he raised hay in the fields, and Solano Drive where the...
Interesting. So what was it like to grow up there? Did you have a lot of chores?
Yeah, we had chores. We fed the chickens, the geese, the pigs, and I liked stripping the cows. After my dad milked the cows, I would go in with a little pint bottle and get my milk. And my father said, only 1 cow, because that's the cream. He always said the cream came last. It's very hard to change to pasteurized milk that you buy in the store once you have that. But chores were bringing in wood in the wintertime, helping Mother hang clothes, take clothes off the line, doing a lot of sweeping because the men's boots were very dirty. They washed up in the porch where the laundry cooktop was, and then they'd come in to eat. And there was a lot of cooking, a lot of peeling potatoes, lots of peeling potatoes. My sister Teresa helped a lot in the house, and my sisters Agnes and Mary helped a lot in the house. Laundry was really a very difficult thing in the winter time. Yeah. But Dr. Hamlin, Ollie's grandfather, used to come out with Sammy, the little man, Filipino man, drove the chauffeur, drove his big car, and we'd run to the gate and open the gate for him. They'd give us a nickel or a dime. And then they'd go up to the cabin. The picture I showed you of the snow in 1937. They'd go up to the cabin, he'd stay. Sometimes he'd have friends come out and stay. So it was a lot of fun. And of course, the things we had fun with were flying kites and really hiking. I did a lot of hiking, and we didn't have to grow very many flowers. We'd go up in the fields and get maidenhair and ferns, you know, and playing shadow tag at night because we had a big yard between the bunkhouse and the house.
How do you play shadow tag?
There's a big light, and the light shines on you. And if your shadow is shining onto the ground, another person can step on your shadow, and you're it. We had a lot of fun, but it was very hard having Mother would can like tomatoes when we barter with the Japanese farmers that we give them milk and they give us a box of tomatoes. And Mother tried, always cook them, put them up, but it was so hot. We didn't have a basement. And sometimes the jars would spoil, but she did can a lot. She did can a lot, made a lot of applesauce. The Japanese people had apple trees and you give them milk. And, yeah.
And where were the Japanese farms?
There was one in Burton Valley, another one in Happy Valley, and one over by Silver Springs. The one in Burton Valley we dealt a lot with.
So there were 8 children in your family?
Yes.
Yeah.
6 girls and 2 boys.
And you were the youngest?
I was the youngest. There was Cecilia, who started the dairy with my dad, and Teresa, the homemaker, and Frances, the secretarial girl, and Tony, and Mary, and Agnes, and Catherine Agnes, actually, and Joe, and then myself. And I moved from there just the week before I turned 11 years old to Clayton on another ranch.
Yeah. So how did you two meet each other?
Grammar school.
Well, yeah, we went to grammar school together for a short time.
4 years.
But then later on, Sophie worked in the bank, and that's where I met her. After, that was, I don't know what year that was. That was
1960.
something 60, yeah.
But when you were in grammar school, you really didn't know each other that well.
Yeah.
You-
We knew each
Yeah.
other.
Did you
just,
play
like
together
kids, you know.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
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 We knew each other. Yeah.
Sophie was very shy. Would you believe that? When she was in school.
Because I didn't want to start school when I was 6 years old. They kept me home for 1 year because I was so shy. I did not want to start school. And then Bob came, and he had gone to Yosemite for 6 months a year, and then to his grandma. And so we started over when he came back to Lafayette. That's how we happened to be in the same grade together.
Yeah. Took me 2 years to get out of first grade.
Okay. Yeah, so then how about you? What are your early memories of
Well,
living in Lafayette as a child?
yeah. When I came back from Yosemite, I stayed with my grandmother, Grandma Oliveiras, because my folks are there, and they didn't have a place for me to stay there, so I was living with her, and my grandfather had died, and actually, when I was about 2 years old, I don't really remember, but they had a pear orchard, and there was a lot of pears, and I remember going out in the orchard with my little wagon and picking up pears and feeding them to the pigs. And that was later on. And then I lived with Mom. They went too entertainment. He had friends in the area, a lot of friends. Yeah, we played cards, and then there was after there was friends in the area I used to play with.
Cub Scouts.
No, before that, during World War II, we started called a little Marine Corps. Some of the guys in the area got together. We had a little group, and we used to have our meetings in the basement at Grandma's house. And then later, I got involved with Scouts. And then we had Scouts here.
What part of Lafayette was the pear orchard in? Where was it?
Well, from Mount Diablo Boulevard back toward the creek, where Jack in the Box, Almanor Lane.
Oh,
Almanor Lane all the way to the creek. And that was the original property that we had. And it went over to the Lafayette orchards. And then, in the summertime, we had pears and apples and figs and stuff. And I was just selling them on the boulevard. I had a little stand I made out on the. That's when there was no freeway. There was just, this Montana Boulevard would run through Lafayette. And my little stand was right by where Lafayette Orchard is now. I guess I still call it Lafayette Orchard. And Grandma's farm. But, little some palm branches for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish you had a picture of that.
I wish I did too. I used to have some pictures of it.
I don't know anybody who would have a picture.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody took any
Like
pictures
the
of it.
Solers and some of those people.
Was there a lot of traffic on Mount Diablo Boulevard in those days?
Well, not a lot. There was a little traffic in those days. Of course, it was the main route to go to Oakland, whichever way, Walnut Creek. But it was just a 2-lane road. Actually, in some places it was 3-lane. I remember it had a 3-lane by the Lafayette Reservoir in that way. Suicide Highway. They had a lot of accidents.
What do you remember most about downtown Lafayette?
Well, looking at the pictures, the service station and the Marie Bills, and of course the Organizani's Diamond Dollar. And then later somebody else took over, but and of course the Roundup. Of course it's still there. But I was too young for that. When we had the horse shows, I rode horses in the parade a few times. And they used to have the announcing guy right there in front of the Roundup, and people would announce different names of different people.
Our truck was in the parade.
Your truck was in the parade?
Yeah.
The white dairy truck was in the parade, and we'd have a calf in the back. Oh, that was okay. But in grammar school, we used to walk downtown to Mickey Myers, and we'd buy those little wax candies, the juice. They were little bottles that had juice in them, and we'd get bubble gum. We could never have anything in the classroom. But that was a treat. If we had a penny or two, we could get those little wax, like fruit juice inside. It was fun.
I remember walking down from school
Yeah.
for Mrs. Christian at noontime, and she'd give me money to buy her Hershey candy bars. She loved Hershey candy bars. Mrs. Christian taught me, my mother, and one of our offspring,
Yeah.
Patty,
No.
Barbara.
No. I think Miss Christian or Miss Berta, I think. I mean, Miss Berta was.
But yeah, she'd been there.
Yeah.
Is she the woman in the picture?
That's
No,
Mrs.
she's
Gates.
not in that.
Okay.
And Mrs. Gates.
She's not in that one. I have another
No.
picture with her in it.
Yeah.
Class
Okay.
picture, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was.
So you lived basically as an only child with your grandmother,
Yeah. Well, I have a brother, younger brother.
and he also lived there, or?
Yeah, he lived mostly with my folks, because later they moved to Sacramento, and Mom was by herself, so I was her man of the house.
Companion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So, what would you think like the biggest changes that you've seen in Lafayette over this?
Just everything. I,
Sidewalks.
well, yeah, from freeway changed
Yeah.
Lafayette a lot, and brought a lot of people out. And of course, Bart.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget. Friends with Harry Clever and had property there, Lower Happy Valley Road. We call them Lower and Upper because to distinguish the two roads. But anyway, Harry says as soon as they bring that BART in, we're going to have an influx of people, and that's what happened. Because it made it more convenient for people to be in a bedroom community. But the building was unbelievable. Just because where my grandparents farmed, Burton Valley, that was just hayland. Hay fields, and there was no trees. And then later the Marga Land Company put in the trees. And of course, my grandfather wanted to buy that property, but they wouldn't sell it.
Had he been leasing it, or what?
Apparently, they were leasing it or
I
whatever
see.
from them, and that's where he raised his hay and so forth for the animals. And he at Burton Station, there was a station for Sacramento Northern. He used to load his hay on the flat cars there, and they'd haul it in. And then my grandmother used to tell some stories about all that too. The Moraga Land Company and the Irvine. I wish I could remember all that. But there was a lot of underhanded stuff that went on because they were stealing the land from the Spanish people.
That she was talking about.
It wasn't granted. In fact, Ma said one day, Dad was out there, Grandpa was out shopping the hay, putting it in piles, by hand. And this rider came riding up, and she said, "Will you hide me? Will you hide me?" And they were chasing this guy that was trying to get away from this gang that was following him. When people were, some of the Mexicans were trying to do him in, I guess, and they hit him under the haystack, and then they came up and told him. But there was a lot of. I sometimes wondered about the Moraga Land Company and the background of what would have happened.
Well,
About clearing being clear title to the property.
Yeah, clear title I think probably was a major issue.
Yeah.
And if they didn't recognize the Mexicans' claims.
Yeah. Of course I was too young at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough and tough days.
Rough and tough.
Yeah.
The Old West.
Old West,
Yeah, that's one way before his time. My mother was born.
That's stories she was telling me.
So your grandfather farmed on leased land in Burton Valley, but also had an orchard over here that you were
Later,
saying on
yeah,
Almanac?
well, they couldn't buy that, so then they bought this property.
I see.
And then
Okay.
that was an orchard, and that's when they lived. So he passed on, and he passed on at 32 or 33.
Oh, okay. And then that land ultimately was sold to developers by your
Yeah.
family, or was that?
Yeah, Grandma sold parts of it because she was by herself and she couldn't take care of it. So she sold it to different parcels to different people. And we had the 2.5 acres in the back of it. We lived in the old park. Of course, it's all gone now.
And when did you leave Lafayette?
Oh.
We got married in
19.
1961, and we lived on my
We lived
place
there
for
for
a year,
25
and then
years.
we 23 years on
Bird
Birdhaven Court, the Wings on Birdhaven.
Yeah.
And we made Herb Cain's column.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Clayton because he's in the construction business, and there's nowhere to park equipment anymore. And Mr. Lemus was going to develop up here. So we moved to Clayton in 1985.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
thought perhaps you'd been there because your family had moved there back in the...
No.
No,
You know,
we
when you were
left
11.
because my dad had a brain tumor and he died after I got out of high school when I was working over in Lafayette. No, we had to sell our ranch because he got sick,
I see.
and we lived on Concord Boulevard. But
We would have probably stayed there for
we
found a
were
place to
here,
park.
yeah. I was here, I think, the longest until
Because,
we moved out.
Well, initially was Tony died, and then his son. They built the post office distributing
Behind Butler County.
Butler County.
Oh, yes.
That was
The
where
big
my
one.
yard was.
I see.
So, yeah.
There's good memories of some of the old timers. I mean, even when Mr. Conti passed away, you know, we went to his service, and I started thinking back all the fun times and conversations. I never thought of him as a car dealer. I thought of him as a neighbor. You know, it really was fun. And right across from your historical building here is the corner was a little old house where Dr. Filer had his office.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where they took my father when he got sick. And it was right over here. And then they built their home up on the hill, that Mountain View, Dr. Filer, he built up on the hill.
Yeah.
And then the Francis
Warrior
family,
Circle, yeah.
the Francis family lived there for many years. But this corner is very reminiscent with me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you were saying that you're a third generation,
Mm-hmm.
and so maybe you tell us your family history. a little
Oh,
bit.
my family. Well, yeah. Well, my grandmother was born in Concord, off a little pass, and she was adored, and she was born with her brother and so forth, and then she married my grandfather Oliveiras, and then that's when they moved to Burton Valley and started farming.
Farming the wheat.
And of course, then that's where my mother was born, Burton Valley. There was a little house just before you cross the bridge on Glenside, on the left, on the south side there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Mom was born, and that's where they farmed. And Ma used to tell stories about they had a dog that would pump the water. There was this wheel on the pump, and the dog would get in the wheel and pump the wheel and watch the trough. When the trough filled up, the dog would quit. It was filling the trough for the animals.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, my mom, she rode her buggy to school, and she went to the school down
Lafayette
here,
School.
Lafayette School, which was the church.
Oh, the
was
third
church.
school.
Yeah.
The church side.
Yeah, it was a church then, I guess, and that's where she went to school. And then later, she went to school at Danville. She took, I don't know how that worked, but she took the train to Walnut Creek, and then there was another train, I guess, that went to Danville.
Yeah, she didn't go to Diablo. She went to
Yeah.
the high school.
And then, of course, that's where she met. Afterwards, that's where she met my dad, I guess. I don't know exactly how that was.
Yeah, that's what she meant.
That's what she married, yeah. Then Dad was a mechanic, and he wanted to, it was tough times, and he wanted to go into dentistry, but they couldn't afford it, so schooling, so he had a shop. He had the first Ford agency in Lafayette, Model T Ford.
On Mount Diablo Boulevard?
Yeah. And he used to keep little Betsy in the shop.
Is that right?
Yeah. They're all volunteer firemen.
Yeah, Watson's were I turned
Okay. So they were volunteer firemen, and the fire truck was kept there in the Model T Ford dealership.
Yeah.
and then Mr.
Guy.
Morrison.
Morrison became
Morrison
fireman, yeah.
became the first fire chief, and he had
Actually-
a fire truck at his place.
I had a friend that was a fireman, who was writing up the history of the fire department, and Bob Rhodes, and he told me, he says, I didn't know your dad was a fire chief. He had a badge, and a young kid, I didn't know I found these badges. I guess I lost them or something, but he had a badge that said fire chief, so I don't know what that meant. But, yeah, that's when it was all volunteers.
Yeah, we don't have any memorabilia about that.
Yeah,
We
I don't have it.
don't
Yeah,
have any pictures or memorabilia, and I'm sorry that we didn't delve into things because I know his mom, when she cleaned out.
Oh yeah, she drew. Another thing, the shop was, what is that? Well, we used to call it the Curve, and then it changed hands. There was a restaurant there. What is that name? Across from
Mountain
Mountain View.
right across the street.
Across the street, that restaurant's still there. They call it. I think it's a Mexican restaurant now.
Cecilia's or something. I think.
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
like where the
Yeah, on the
seafood
right.
place used to be, Cape Cod House?
Yeah, Cape Cod. Yeah,
Okay,
Cape Cod.
all right, yeah.
Well, Larry Solids built that. Anyway,
Yeah.
he, my dad's shop was just west of that.
Yeah.
Just west of where Cecilia's is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had a little house that was up on the kind of a ridge there.
Ah.
Of course, it's so changed now. And then there was a lumber yard next door to it too. Later,
That
it
was
was Corbett.
Corbett's. And yes, and the rest was here. His dad.
Never isn't that good, but sometimes
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
back.
There was Mountain View, and then I went across to Mount Diablo, and then this is the restaurant, and his dad's shop is right here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that's still there, and then Corbett took over that, and I forgot about that.
And then, of course, the 29s came, crashed, and everything
Yes,
went.
he lost his
That's-
dealership.
Yeah.
Everybody lost
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had milk, eggs, and butter.
And people always need
And
those.
but that's when my mother was baking, I guess. And then after that, she didn't bake that much until we moved away and we started baking again, breads,
Uh-huh.
Because when we had the dairy, just like Bob knows, that whoever we sold milk to, we'd barter. We had a customer in Walnut Creek, I think Vita Cream Bakery, and we got all our pastry and breads.
So that's how you kept your family fed,
Right.
was by
Right.
bartering. Can you remember any of the other specific barters besides the Japanese
No,
and this
just
one in Walnut Creek?
we take it off the bill.
Uh-huh.
If they had a $5 bill maybe. And then we'd get breads and pastries. I remember we got very sick one summer. I think it was my mother's birthday. It was on the 3rd of July. My dad brought this beautiful big cake home. Well, it was so big, I guess they couldn't get it in the refrigerator. I don't know. We did have a refrigeration then. And all of us got food poisoning. And in the middle of the night, my mother was calling Dr. Filer. He came up and gave all of us a little drink of salt water and was going from bedroom to bedroom, getting us to get this throw up. And it was so funny because I'd never heard of that before. My mother never did it before, but it just something that happened. The whipped cream. We gave them the cream. They made the cake. It was a very vivid memory of that night. But we had a lot of fun, and we always got a lot of good cookies and bakery, always, and breads. And then after that, we started baking more when we moved to Clayton. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun because we used to go to the parades in Walnut Creek, the Portuguese festivals, and my dad would always donate a calf because they'd auction it off. And we'd have sopas, which we still go to festas. We belong to the Portuguese Lodge, the PFSA, the Portuguese Fraternal Society of America, California, and we're both, and I'm a treasurer in our group.
Uh-huh.
So we still go to all these festas. There's in Hayward, San Leandro, all over. We just got back from Fort Bragg for one.
Uh-huh.
And we used to go to Walnut Creek for this festa every year.
They allow us. We're only half-breeds, but they allow us.
But my sister was not a queen, she was a princess, I think, in the Concord one. They had a big festival in Concord every year. Yeah. It was really a lot of fun. I miss those days. Walnut Creeks especially.
Hmm.
But,
What about in Lafayette? Were there more festivals besides the horse show? I know that
The
was
horse show
really
was
a
the
big
only-
deal.
horse, that was
the
a big
big
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
The big dances and they
I remember
really.
going out to my uncle's in Danville and riding a horse down here to ride in the parade.
Oh, really? You got to ride in the parade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We drove our truck in the
No,
parade.
we
My
didn't-
sister rode in the parade.
We didn't trailer them, we walked them.
Yeah.
We came down
Yeah.
over the
Because Mary rode in the parade with Dr. Hamlin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my sister Mary and Dr. Hamlin, yeah. He had his palomino at our place, yeah. My brother took care, my brother Joe took care, of course. We had a lot of fun. I remember when Ollie's father, Oliver Hamlin, built his house up on the hill off Monongah Road. And he started a bunch of trees and bushes in the field. My brother was watering them all the time. They planted them up in the hill when he built his house.
And when would have that been?
1938, 39.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. He built in 39, maybe 49. It was a beautiful place. And then Ollie built on we called it the Mushroom Hill. We used to go where the cows would, when you go into the ranch, it was to the right, where Ollie's house is. That's where the cows used to, there's a big pasture there, big flat spot with no trees. And they always,
I missed that. So, big flat spot.
the little flat spot on the hill where Ollie's house is now was where the cows would lay in the afternoons, and there was a lot of manure there. And that's where the mushrooms grew. And we'd go with buckets in the early winter or spring, and we'd get buckets of mushrooms. And never once would I ever pick a bad mushroom, because I was taught from day one what they look like. If they were pink underneath, no, don't pick that white one. But my mother would fry up just big pans of mushrooms and onions.
That's a really cool story. Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. I can still taste those mushrooms.
That's great. So, were you in Lafayette during World War One? I mean, World War Two is what I meant.
Yeah, World
of
War
course,
II.
I meant
Oh,
World
yeah.
War Two.
Yeah, very vividly.
Yeah, I just wondered what your memories of Lafayette and World War
Well,
Two.
the biggest memory I have is when Fort Chicago blew up.
Oh yes. So tell about
It was
that.
a Sunday afternoon, just getting dusk, and we had some friends there at the house and visiting, and all of a sudden the sky lit up and this boom, and it took the fireplace away from the wall a little bit at Mom's house. It was
Oh my goodness!
it was pretty rough.
Like cracked it?
It separated from the building a little. Yeah, that was a pretty violent thing that happened.
Astounding.
Yeah. And then afterwards, you had a friend, a neighbor. He was his dad was friends of a fellow who was at the arsenal in Benicia, and they had a boat, and they invited us to go out. And we went out and over the river and seen the damage of the ships.
Well, when the war broke out, we had just moved last week of July, first week of August, and I turned 11 when we got to our ranch in Clayton. And we were coming back to Lafayette to get our mail because of the business. And I remember our phone number was 33, and the P.O. box was 122. And we came over, and I knew his mother. She worked in the post office in 1941. And we came over every month, every 2 weeks when my sister was over here. Teresa would pick up the mail, and we'd come and get it. Went to the post office, and on the newsstands where Pearl Harbor was bombed. And one of my
And that's how
sisters
you
had
first
the
heard of
paper,
it.
and my mother was so shocked because I had two brothers. She had cousins many, many years ago in Switzerland, 5 cousins that were in the Swiss Navy, and I don't know if they got carried over. But that's how we found out about it, and we were on the ranch. But my one brother was just 14 and a half, and my other brother, though, was married and had one child. But he didn't go. He was around. He had a heart problem, and Joe was too young. But when Joe graduated from high school, he got drafted, and he was asked to come out because my dad got sick. But it was a shock.
Mm-hmm.
When we drove down the street and we saw this, it was just because nobody listened to the news that time because we were out in the country. Nobody listened to the radio, at that time. We just didn't have television. We didn't turn on the radio because we were so busy. We had been moving back and forth, and that morning my mother didn't drive, so my sister drove us over, and we saw the headlines, and my mouth just. And after that, when we'd go to a movie, when you're in high school or grammar school, and you'd see these newsreels, and I just hated it. I went to see a movie, and the cartoons, in those days you got a good cartoon, and I just hated those newsreels. I'd sit there with my hands over my face. They'd show all these bombings and all these things that happened maybe 2 weeks before or a week before, wherever, when the newsreels got to the theaters. But it was hard. It was hard to cope with. A lot of friends got killed.
Frightening for you?
Yes, and we had a very good neighbor in Lafayette, Bob Crowley. He was an only son, he was adopted, and he got killed in Iwo Jima.
Really brought it home. Do you have any remembrance of, say, the Japanese being relocated?
Yeah. Sally, little Sally.
Yeah, there's a couple in our class. All of a sudden, they disappeared. We were young.
It was terrible. It was terrible. In fact, there was a story in the country magazine, the Farm Bureau we belong to, and it's about the family that, I should bring that over to you, about the family that had everything taken from them. The government sold everything. They had to buy everything back. And his brother and sister still run a farm. It's a rice farm.
But like the people here, they gave you the apples and the tomatoes. And do you know what happened to them or anything about their stories?
I don't know.
Kanagakis.
Yeah,
Is that familiar? Yeah.
I don't remember them coming back.
Well, we have neighbors that were treated very badly just to buy a house on our street.
They weren't treated very well.
But, Sally Keto, I saw her in high school. They came back. She couldn't remember me. And she was like 11, 12 years old when we were gone. And she had no memory. It was the shock.
How did people explain it to you at the time? That these people just disappeared?
Well, a lot of Italian people, after that happened, in fact, they were, in fact, one of my brother-in-laws, the mother put her place in his name right away. She turned it right over to him.
No, you're right. Italians
and made out her will that everything gets split if anything happened to her or happened to him. But Angelo's, one of the Ginocchio families, they right away turned the property over to their families, and their children, because they weren't citizens. Those who were citizens were different. But a lot of the Japanese, I don't know if they were citizens or not.
Well, even when they were.
They were still incarcerated.
Yeah.
That's sad. It really is, because they're such wonderful business people.
Yeah, I just wondered what the feeling was at the time. Because
Hard.
That's a different issue.
Hard when you saw them come back. When you saw them come back. In fact, I'll say my ex-in-laws were very good to them. They had property in Concord, and they took them in and gave them a job. And when they sold the ranch, they gave them something. And they relocated to Brooklyn. Yeah, there were some, in fact, he worked for people that are offspring of the incarcerated. Yeah, contractors, landscape contractors that were doing Matsutani's one. Very successful people. Very successful. They're very hard workers and good friends.
Yeah. It just, suddenly disappearing like that. Very,
at the time, I don't think we
questioned it or...
Yeah, we didn't know.
Just they moved away or whatever.
Understand.
You didn't know about it.
Yeah.
We didn't understand what was going on. Yeah. The thing is...
And no one explained. No one said...
Nobody explained it.
No. And to not know what happened to our friends. Why did they have to go? Everybody said they're bad. Well, those people aren't bad. It's their people over there. That, not everybody believed that. There was one man, I won't say names, but there was one man that was questioned in Lafayette because he had a two-way radio and was, I guess,
communicating with Japan.
And they incarcerated him as soon as they found the frequency or something. And, he was incarcerated right away.
So, anything else you want us to know about Lafayette?
Yeah, about Lafayette.
They had a lot
Other
of
than
good
the big
businesses.
changes.
Yeah, they had a
Yeah.
lot of good. I really
Big
thought it
changes
was, this like when my daughter Frances, the second oldest, was in high school. She wrote an article about how many service stations there were in Lafayette. At one time, you probably heard this before. And there was the Roundup, the bar. Then there was Danny Van Allen's, another bar. And then there's service station after service station.
And bars.
And I thought, when is the service stations going to stop? It seems after the high school and the kids started to, the students started to bring cars to school. There were more. And then when DVC started, and those seniors were going to school. So there were all these service stations. And still the city of Clayton doesn't have a service station. We live there. So it's really surprising how one business will take off.
So, service stations and bars is
Yeah.
really pretty much. So, we've come a ways from there.
Yeah,
Right.
come away, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of good restaurants.
Yeah.
Lafayette has some nice restaurants. I haven't been to all of them, but we knew a few people that had restaurants. But because when I worked in Lafayette, after I got out of high school, I worked for Ken Jensen at the Diamond Dollar store, and Mrs. Marie Bill, that had the little restaurant at the corner of Mount Diablo.
Well, it wasn't
and
a corner.
Well, it's near the corner, and the little telephone company was there years ago. She would say, "Oh, come on down, have your sandwich down at my place. Come on, visit with me." So I'd go down at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, whatever, and I'd sit there and get a milkshake or a soda or something. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
What do you think you miss most about Lafayette in the old days compared to now?
Well, I don't know. I miss the old days. Probably
The
from
country.
the friends but now it's more.
Still a doorstep community.
Yeah,
It's not commercialized.
It's not social. I mean, before you walk down the street, you knew everybody.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah,
True.
I couldn't do my shopping. The lady that used to work for the Lafayette Sun, Mrs. Armanino, would find me in the grocery store. At one time, I actually, and this is terrible, but I actually went to Moraga to do my shopping because I couldn't. Mrs.
She liked to
Goldbeer
talk.
was in, how's your mother, how's your father, how's your sister, Teresa, where's this one?
Yeah.
And 8 in the family, I had
Yeah,
to
a
answer
lot to say.
for all these people. So I actually went to Moraga. They had built a new, was it Lucky's or Safeway, and I went shopping over there. Of course, I lived on Birdhaven off Moraga, so it wasn't that far. But it was a kick. It was a kick. Sometimes I'd see people that hadn't seen Mrs. Malley for a long time, and they'd want to know how everyone was, which is true because my sisters and Bert, like my brother, would drive the milk truck, and my sisters would deliver milk with them or something. And they knew all of them. They knew all of them. And it is nice to see somebody that knows from the family. But it was interesting.
Well, I think that you guys have told us a lot. I like some of the
Well,
images.
then
No,
anyway.
honestly, I love just visualizing, the picking the mushrooms and just some of the, the stories.
That was a highlight.
It's just really kind of, it's just vivid.
Yeah,
too.
That's
it
a
is.
highlight.
Yeah.
And getting the maidenhair fern and then the Christmas berries.
Christmas berries?
Christmas berries. My sister said, "Oh, Christmas berries," and I picked them up when I was putting them in my hair. And
Oh, you put Christmas berries in your ear and you couldn't get them out?
I had to go to the doctor.
Oh,
Terrible. It was
it's
just,
good.
I guess some fell on me and I was putting them in my hair. But we used to have a lot of fun. You didn't buy a Christmas tree.
You cut it down or you?
Yeah, you had Christmas berry things. I've heard this from friends. One lady said, "I don't buy a tree. I get poinsettias and I make a tree shape out of it."
Mm-hmm.
She gets pots and builds it up like,
And what? So you would go out and get a Christmas berry bush? What is that?
Well,
Like a pyracantha or a toyon or?
Christmas berries or something like pyracantha, but I can't find an explanation for it. Like you asked me, I asked somebody, and well, it's a berry. I don't know what it is, but they grow wild.
It might be a toyon. Yeah.
No, it's
'Cause
not.
they have red berries.
Yeah,
too.
they do, but this is different.
This is different. Okay.
And
all
they
right.
grew up in the canyon.
I
On the
see.
way in that picture of the snow and the bridge,
Uh-huh.
up in that canyon. And we get these in fact, we have one in our yard.
Ah.
The house we bought had one growing out of the roots. I says, hey, that's a Christmas berry. We always called it Christmas berry, and we don't know what it is. So I have to take when it
Yeah.
goes
Take it
into
into
berries
Navlays or something.
Navlays.
Yeah.
They might not, but it's interesting because we had ferns, and those ferns that have the powder on the back, we take and put it, well, steam on your hand and put the fern upside down, and it would stamp.
Oh.
It makes a fern. It's a special. It's not just an ordinary fern. It's one that has the powdery backing,
like this
like
or
yellow.
something.
Yeah, the yellow, and you put it on your hand, it would stamp. We do that all the time. But it was a lot of fun. All the shooting stars and different flowers. We'd have, we didn't buy flowers. We didn't buy plants. We went up in the canyon and got them. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the mushroom gathering the best because I knew what I was doing.
Kind of wandering wild.
You are wild, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
It was so
Yeah.
much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, and I love the image of you with your stand out
Yeah.
on that.
Then we had a big creek in the back, and it was kind of like a sandbar on the bottom. It was all sandy, and we used to play down there a lot. In fact, there was a fellow who used to haul sand out of there with his truck, and it was a wide spot in the creek. And but later, that's where we had our brain thing. Yeah, and then we had a little. This was later. We built a little hut out there and we had smoking tobacco, smoking coffee.
Oh, I
We
see.
started out with coffee. Yeah, and I'll never forget the next door. Of course, the Lafayette Orchard was getting developed, and there's houses coming in, and there's landscaping just getting in, and they were cleaning up this yard, and it was part of the property. And he ran across these old packs of Lucky Strike cigarettes. George King, yeah. He said, where those came from? I don't know. But yeah, that was.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah.
But who were
We
the
gave that
two
up.
old maids you always talked about?
Oh,
That's who I thought that
Hamptons.
house
The
was.
Hamptons.
The Hamptons?
Yeah.
You don't have a picture of that house.
That house, as far as I know, is still there. It's been redone. It's a big
two-story.
kind of a southern colonial style house, two-story.
Where is this? Over in the Lafayette Orchards area?
Yeah.
It's on the just east of the orchards. In fact, I think they enter from the orchards. And they had some acreage, and of course, I guess it's all sold
Well,
off
it's
now.
all been developed.
Yeah, no, but
It's a two-story white house. Very different.
they were two. They always used to call it the old maids. There was two old maids.
Yeah.
The Hamptons that lived there, and was an eagle. And the fella that used to take care of it, his name Tom. I remember that much. That was
And the old man put old maid's house.
Mm-hmm.
What was their name?
Hamptons.
It was Hampton and Dyer.
There was
I
a-
think I hope that's right.
There was an article in the paper about that.
Yeah.
Gee, I don't know if I get it. I have another box.
Wow.
I'm terrible. I don't put things. I have albums that aren't filled.
That's fine.
Yeah,
You're not alone.
picture, yeah. All this stuff.
And my daughter says, well, now you can put them on the computer. Well, I won't. I have a computer that I
That's modern day. The
I-
young generation picked that stuff up.
use. I know.
Grandkids picked it.
I'm a gardener.
Well, I think, right? Stop.